Guys, welcome back to Before the First Cast. Happy Friday to everyone. I am so glad it's Friday and it's the weekend. We're going to have an absolutely beautiful weekend here in Central Virginia. Um, the weather looks great for fishing. We're getting some of that 80s back in the forecast with some sun. We had a little bit of rain yesterday, but I think fishing will be really good this weekend. So if you're able to get out on the water, guys, this would be a great weekend to do it. There is plenty of plenty of things to fish here around Smith Mountain Lake and other lakes for here in Virginia. Um, I kind of this podcast is going to be a little about you know fishing. Honestly, it's going to be kind of on the realms where I start. I kind of talk to you guys for a few minutes and just give my perspective on what's happening this time of year. And just first of all, I just want to go in and talk about what's happening here nationally on our national trails. For Bassmaster, we have the when you're seeing this, the second day of the Bassmaster EQs on Lake Champlain. For MLF, we do have the MLF Team Series that is going off right now, and I can't remember what lake they're on. I'm gonna look that up right now. I don't remember exactly the lake they're at. Um, they are in Wisconsin and on Minnetonka. Excuse me mispronouncing that. And right now it's called the Fishing Class Team Series Knighton Industries Heritage Cup, presented by Bass Boat Technologies. And the current leader for today, which is Mark Daniels Jr. and Jacob Wheeler with 77 pounds 4 ounces. That's pretty good. Um, Guys, for all the local stuff, I would encourage you guys to either if you don't have the Basscast app, to jump on the Basscast website. They have everything. Well, I just tried to get on the app and it didn't see it. But if you go to the basscast.com, you can see all of the tournaments that will be fished here locally, and news articles. Another big thing that has come out is Bass has announced the field for the 2025 Bassmaster Elite Qualifying Series. And they've also released the 26th Bass Nation schedule. So we might jump in and let's look at some of the qualifiers for the elites. I'm really interested in what the field looks like. Let's see if there's any notable names fishing the EQs. Um, let's see here. I just hit the wrong thing. So we got a few. By the way, if anybody that has made the Bassmaster EQs is listening to this, congratulations on that great feat. We have our very own Mr. Jack Dice fishing the EQs. Um, Here, a local Lynchburg angler and a Liberty alumni. Let's see here. A notable name that I see right off the bat is Robert G. He is fishing them, I guess, to requalify for or get him a spot in the Bassmaster Classic. Um, Russ Lane is fishing the EQs. Paul Mueller is also jumping into the EQs from the Elite Series. Garrett Paquette was a former Elite Series angler that's trying to get back there. And that is Laker Howe, which I don't want to give anything away, but you guys better keep listening to the podcast and following along the basscast.com because he may or may not I'm just going to hint at it. He may or may not be um on a podcast here coming soon. I'm not going to tell you which one because that would just take the fun out of it. Um, but Tristan McCormick is also fishing the EQs. He's a really good angler. If you haven't seen the King of Bass, they go through his story on how he really made it to where he is right now. Um, Michael Neal is fishing it as well. Um, so an MPFL guy trying to come over to Bassmaster. Um, There's a lot of big name elites, which we kind of figure was coming. If you listen to the podcast last week with John Cruz, he said that that was going to happen, and he's hoping, one of these elite guys double qualify, so he can be in the Bassmaster Classic next year. He is actually on the bubble, so he's really paying attention to these EQs to see what happens. He's hoping one of his buddies, whether it be Brian Schmidt or Seth Fighter or somebody like, somebody can double qualify to get into the classic, and that would move him up the spots in Angler of the Year. Um, but yeah, that's the EQs. Let's talk about the Bass Nation schedule. Apparently, a news article says that they're going to be going to iconic fisheries. So let's take a dive into this. Hot off the press the other day. So the trail begins on April 10th through the 12th in Cherokee Lake in Jefferson City, Tennessee. Um, I've actually been to this lake. That'll be a really good lake in April. Then it goes to Toledo Bend Reservoir in Louisiana, mini Louisiana, April 22nd to the 24th. That'll be an interesting one. Definitely would probably be a shootout. You know, the grass is definitely going to play there. I mean, it consistently brings out heavy bags, so that'll be an interesting one. Then they go to La Crosse, Wisconsin for the Mississippi River, May 10th or 8th through the 10th. Everybody says that is a fishery that they, look forward to. But people on that has to be adaptable. They have to be adaptable to different conditions. You may be fishing one thing one day, then you have to go fish something else. And the regular season finale ends July 31st and August 2nd on Lake Champlain out of Plattsburgh, New York. Now, that is going to be a really, really good tournament. You're going to catch big largemouth in Lake Champlain, and most people go after the smallmouth, but the largemouth play as well. So I can't wait to see how that shakes out. But yeah, that's the Bass Nation schedule for 2026. Gonna be a good one. It's gonna be looks like it's gonna be awesome actually. But yeah, that's awesome. Um, that also we saw a tentative Shenandoah or Phoenix Bass Fishing League schedule or the BFLs come out, um, and no Smith Mountain Lake on it. Well, I want to know what you guys' take on that is. There's no Smith Mountain Lake on that. Do you think they'll come to Smith Mountain Lake for the Piedmont series or the Piedmont division? I want to know you guys' thoughts on it. I don't really know or whose decision it was not to come back to Smith Mountain Lake, but I just think they want they want to see something different. Which is, I mean, the lakes they have on there are pretty good. Well, actually, really good. So it'll be interesting next year. I've always wanted to test my ability to fish as a co angler on the BFLs and see if I can make it. But not having my home water on there scares me a little bit because I'm very familiar with it. But maybe it'll take me out of my comfort zone, and I'll be I can challenge myself and develop my skill set fishing other places. So, what do you guys think? Um, is it a good thing that there's no home field advantage or no no Smith Mountain Lake, or what are you guys' thoughts? I want to hear. Put them in the comments. Put them in, you know, put them up on social media, whatever. I want to see what you guys think about that. So, guys, really, what this podcast was is going to be about today is thinking, where do we find fish in September? Um, I've done some study on this. Um, if you want to really catch some bass this time of year, it is very important to be aware of your surroundings. What do I mean about being aware of your surroundings? Look around. What are the changes that are happening? Do you see leaves changing on the trees? Is the weather getting cooler? Is it the days getting shorter? Pay attention to that. That's super important because as we notice the changes, so do the bass. The bass notice the changes as well. And what is happening in September? So, from what I researched and what I know from fishing for a very long time, is the bass are beginning to leave their summer homes and come shallow to feed. So, and I'm sure everybody on here is like, hasn't that already happened? Well, it's happened in some places in the country, but not all. I think here in Smith Mountain Lake, I think we're getting to that point where it's starting to turn over and fish are starting to go back to the bank and shallow and uh, starting to feed. Um, but this time of year, I kind of love to fish this time of year because there's a lot of anglers that stay out deep this time of year because there are fish out deep still that haven't really moved up. But what I want to tell you is kind of a little secret that a lot of people overlook. So a lot of people will stay out deep or stay out in the in well-known creeks and stuff like that. I want to challenge you guys. Don't do that. Don't think outside of the box. Go to the back of your main feeder creeks. What is a feeder creek? Let's explain that. So a feeder creek is or a main creek that has water flowing into it. Why is that important? One, you're getting fresh water into the lake. Two, it brings oxygen into the water that helps, which we all know bass need oxygen to live, but it also cools down the water. And fish like that. And you know who else likes that? Bait fish. So bait fish this time of year will go to the back of pockets or back of creeks, especially feeder creeks because of different water temperatures, the different oxygen levels. And pretty much what happens is the bass will trap the bait fish in the back of these creeks and they will ambush them. So that's how they feed. So some of your biggest fish you may still think are deep, but they're actually not. They're actually in the backs of creeks. And I know there's people in here going to be asking, well, isn't too early for that? Is it, the shad spawn hadn't even started yet? Well, it could be too early where you're from, or it could be just right on time. You never know. Um, that's why you have to keep one, you have to be on the water. Two, you have to keep looking in all these areas because they're not always going to be in the same spot. But that would be my advice for September. It is a really fun month to fish. You can catch a lot of fish really fast because they're grouped up and schooling. You can do a lot of things this time of year, from moving baits to dragging baits. Top water's still going to be a thing. Crankbaits are really going to start firing up here soon. Of course, for my guys that love to throw a Carolina rig, a drag, drag a shaky head, you're going to have your opportunity. Of course, my minnow guys, if you're going to set out deep and shake a minnow, that's probably going to work. But you know, I've heard from a lot of people that bass are starting to get very adaptable to the minnow fishing. So it will be very uh, interesting to see if you're going to get the same amount of bites on a minnow as you did when it first started and started becoming a big thing. But guys, that's what my suggestions are. Of course, that I'm just one person. I'm no biologist. I'm no professional angler. This is just my what's the word? This is my opinion. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, it took me a few minutes to get that word out. It's been a long, long day. But so don't take this to heart. Don't take this to gold. But if it, you know, strikes something in your brain and the light bulb goes off, by all means, go try it. It can't hurt to try. So, guys, take this advice this weekend. Go out there and have a fun, safe weekend. Always wear your life jackets. And we will catch you guys next week on Before the First Cast. And we may have a guest that you guys really want to hear from. So stay tuned, and we will see you guys back here Friday morning, next Friday. You guys be safe. Have a great weekend.